Welcome to the Concrete Briefing. I am your host, Carter Concrete. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a calculated architectural heist. We are talking about the systematic dismantling of a legacy. This isn't just a story about moving vans and changing zip codes. This is a forensic analysis of the engineered displacement of Black America. We're looking at the maps, the money, and the cold, hard math that leads to one chilling conclusion: no land, no voice. To understand where we are going, we have to look at what was built. For decades, neighborhoods like South Central and Watts weren't just areas on a map. They were fortresses of stability. We are talking about tribal neighborhoods, the bounty hunters, the Grape Streets communities with deep established roots. In the 1980s, families were securing the American dream for $20,000 to $60,000. These were paid for houses and black businesses. This was more than real estate. It was generational wealth, a tangible anchor of security that stood for decades. This was the concrete foundation. But when you build something of value, the vultures start circling. The sources call it gentrification, but let's call it what it actually is: the Great Reclamation. Once outside interests realized these neighborhoods were sitting on prime real estate, the directive was clear. Oh no, we got to take this back. The strategy was two-pronged. First, the information gap. They approached families who had owned land for 40 years with offers that seemed massive. Offers they can't refuse, but were actually pennies on the dollar. Residents, often unversed in the rapidly escalating market, sold inherited property for a fraction of its true value. Land that is now worth $700,000 to $1 million. Second, institutional exclusion. While the cleaning up of downtown was sold as progress, it was a tactical erasure. Banks historically refused to provide loans in these areas, effectively redlining the community's ability to renovate or compete. They replaced community-run institutions with ATMs, stripping away the human element of support and further destabilizing the economic environment. Now, here's where the story turns into a thriller. We look at the public housing projects like Jordan Down. They weren't just renovated, they were deliberately torn down. And here is the sting when the new structures went up. They implemented strict criteria designed to ensure the original residents could never return. We're talking about one-strike rules. If a son was caught writing on a wall or smoking weed, the whole family was barred from the geographical area. This wasn't about safety. It was about geographic purging. Where did they go? They were shipped to the urban outskirts, Lancaster, Palmdale, and areas sitting right on top of the earthquake fault lines like Fontana and San Bernardino. Let's analyze the motive. Why move people to the desert? Because it creates a perpetual homeless situation. Displacement is not a one-time event. It is a structural mechanism of control. The sources reveal a heads-up system. When displaced black families arrive in a new city like Fontana, the word goes out, the Negroes is coming. The immediate result? The rent is raised. This is a localized escalation of housing costs that prevents anyone from ever establishing roots or building wealth again. If you are always chasing the next rent check in a new city, you can never build a base. You are in a state of perpetual motion, and motion is the enemy of political power. We must explore the philosophy behind the struggle. The phrase "a man with no land has no voice" isn't just a slogan, it's a geopolitical reality. Historically, all conflicts from global wars to neighborhood disputes are fundamentally fought over what land. The tribal nature of neighborhoods mentioned in the sources, the bounty hunters. The Grape Streets reflects a cultural history creating identity through territory. When that territory is liquidated, the identity is fractured. The linguistic root of gentrification comes from gentry, the well-born. It is, by definition, an aristocratic reclamation of space. By removing the land, the system removes the voice and power of the long-term residents. So, what is the end game? The sources predict that within a few years, these legendary community landmarks will disappear entirely. The countermove? Some leaders are urging a desperate but intelligent choice: buy land in the desert. Even if it's remote, even if it requires no credit checks or low down payments, the goal is the same: stability. Because in this world, if you don't own the concrete beneath your feet, you don't own the right to speak. This has been the Concrete Briefing. I'm Carter Concrete.